You are standing in line at the grocery store. Your phone is dead. There is nothing to look at, nothing to scroll, and within seconds something strange happens inside your chest. A restlessness. You call it boredom, but the real answer is far stranger. What you are feeling is not emptiness, it is an alarm. Your brain did not evolve to sit still. It evolved to notice, to scan, to hunt for something worth paying attention to. For most of human history, boredom was not a mild inconvenience. It was a signal that something had gone wrong. Why would evolution build a mechanism whose entire purpose is to make you uncomfortable when nothing is happening? Picture a small group of early humans moving across a dry grassland 200,000 years ago. Most of their hours were quiet. If they had felt content doing nothing, they would have stopped scanning the horizon. They would have missed the rustle in the grass, the silence of birds that meant a predator was near. Boredom kept their minds moving even when their bodies were still. The psychologist Erin Westgate has spent years studying why boredom feels so unpleasant. Her research suggests boredom is not simply low arousal, it is a mismatch. Your brain wants meaning and stimulation, and when it finds neither, it produces a signal that pushes you to search elsewhere. Boredom, in her framework, is less an emotion and more a compass. It does not care what you find. It simply insists that you move. That insistence once served your ancestors well. It pushed them to explore new territory, to invent tools out of idle hands, to tell stories around a fire instead of sitting in silence. But that same signal, built for a world of scarcity, is now trapped inside a world of infinite stimulation, and it does not know what to do with itself. In 2014, the psychologist Timothy Wilson ran an experiment that still unsettles people. He placed participants alone in a room with nothing to do but think. Many found it so unpleasant that when given the choice, a significant number chose to give themselves a mild electric shock instead. They chose pain over stillness. That is not weakness. That is the ancient alarm firing exactly as it was built to. Your brain does not distinguish between the boredom of an empty savanna and the boredom of an empty waiting room. Something is wrong, it says. Fix it. Move. Now. 200,000 years ago, that impulse pushed you toward the horizon. Today, it pushes you toward your phone. For a moment it works, but notice what is missing. There is no horizon, no discovery, just a loop. Scroll, glance, scroll again. The compass is still pointing. It just has nowhere real left to send you. The psychologist Sandy Mann found something else, though. In her research, people given a boring task performed better on a creative task afterward than people who skipped straight to it. Boredom, left alone, forces the brain to generate its own stimulation. Some of the most important thinking humans have ever done happened in exactly this kind of unstructured space, not despite boredom, but because of it. So why does it feel so bad? Because your brain treats unresolved attention the way it treats unresolved hunger. It cannot tell the difference between there is no food nearby and there is no task nearby. Both trigger a search. And in the modern world, that search has an easy answer sitting in your pocket. If boredom is a compass built to seek meaningful engagement and you interrupt it constantly with something quick and shallow, it never finishes its job. Your ancestors' boredom led to exploration, storytelling, connection. Modern boredom, interrupted at the 2-second mark, often leads nowhere at all. What happens to a mind that never finishes being bored? There is a reason people report their best ideas arriving in the shower, on a long walk, during a drive with no podcast playing. These are some of the last pockets of unresolved boredom left. No screen to grab, just the old compass, finally given a few uninterrupted minutes to point somewhere. You were never built to be entertained constantly. You were built to notice, to search, to grow uncomfortable in stillness so that stillness would not last. That discomfort is not a malfunction. It is one of the oldest instructions your species carries. The danger was never boredom itself. The danger is what happens when boredom never gets to finish its sentence. So tonight, when that familiar restlessness rises, before you reach for the glowing rectangle in your pocket, try waiting. Somewhere underneath that discomfort is a very old, very patient compass, still trying to point you towards something worth finding. You were never bored by accident. You were bored on purpose.